I keep telling myself that I'm gonna vlog using my like front-facing camera and not this like selfie mode, but I hate it, and the videos are always trash. And I use the other camera because I need to see what I'm doing. One day I'm gonna be a grown-up and I'm gonna get like a proper vlogging camera, but if you didn't know, the entirety of this YouTube channel is filmed on various Pixel phones that I've had, so that might be obvious from the quality. Anyways, it is Friday today, January 27th, and I am going to make some cookies in a little bit. I just finished writing this week's blog post to go with this video, and then I think later we're gonna get some Starbucks, go to the beach, get some B-roll for those very important Instagram reels and TikToks that I like to make, so thought I'd bring you along for that. I think we're gonna go on a bit of a hike tomorrow. It's actually supposed to be like decent-ish weather. I mean, it is January, but it is like 10 degrees, which is pretty nice. Good hiking weather. You don't get all sweaty and gross like you do in August. So yeah, drag you guys along for that. And then what I do want to talk to you about is books that have changed my brain chemistry. So if you have been watching my channel for a while, like, hello, welcome back. If you're new, hello, welcome. But you know that I'm a big book reader. I was an English major in university, and I have many books. And if you go back and watch that apartment tour, then you can see like the full hoard that I've got going on, like Smaug style. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun one for me to talk about the books that really helped me, like on my journey of like learning and growing and doing all that kind of stuff. If you guys want a book recommendation of like fiction books, I can do that too. I think my kettle's about to boil. But yeah, I will drag you guys along on my adventures this weekend, and then we can have a quick chat about life-changing books. Hi, welcome to Simply Intentional. My name is Katie. I'm on a journey to live my most fulfilling life and hopefully inspire others to do the same. Come along as I figure out my 30s one day at a time, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my adventures. Right, these are the cookies we're making. I've made them like a bunch of times. They're really good and I've been craving them lately. So here we go. And here is the cookie chaos. The mixer just makes life so much nicer. I'm quite obsessed with it. Also, yes, everything is still blue in my kitchen. All right, ready to go in the oven. All right, and here we have the finished cookies. These ones aren't like super sweet. They're kind of nice. They're just like ginger molasses ones. There's very little sugar in them, so I'm excited to eat like most of these today. Oh, hi friends. Today is Saturday. I did not go to the beach or go to Starbucks yesterday. I hung out at home in sweatpants and watched TV, made those cookies, and then I got burgers and watched movies with my grandparents because that's what I do on Friday nights because they're a lot cooler than me. So there's nothing more invigorating than at like almost 35 years old when I go to bed on like a Friday or Saturday night and my grandparents are definitely still awake and I'm like, I'm still cool. Anyways, it's Saturday today. It's like almost noon. My mom's coming to pick me up and I wanted to go look at a lighthouse, and I live on an island on the west coast, so like there's a bunch of them. So we're gonna go out to we're gonna go to Fort Rod Hill, look at a lighthouse, go to Staples. I decided that I wanted to get one of those like whiteboard corkboard things because I want to like, I'm a 5-year plan girl now, and so I want to like map out some thoughts and processes and like do a little vision boarding, you know, because that's what we do here on our White Girls with Nose Ring journey. Anyways, yeah, this is kind of a ramble, but let's go check out a lighthouse, and then I'm gonna yell at you about books, as always. Friends, I hope you enjoyed my weekend adventures. As always, my mini vlog and then a mini rant. Today we're gonna have book recommendations. I think some of these books, like I talked about in a previous video, like I've done reviews of some of them. I'm also gonna have a blog post linked to this, which will have like a breakdown of these books and then also like some honorable mentions of books that I totally think are worth checking out as well. These are just the ones that I found to be like the most important. So I found these, like, as the title said, like, these are books that changed my brain chemistry, changed my outlook on life. And I know it's sort of cliche to say that, oh, a book changed my life, and there's such a bad rap with like self-help books or that whole kind of concept, but honestly, I think if we can expose ourselves to more ideas, to other ways of thinking, to different like philosophical schools of thought, I think that you're going to have a much more enriching experience. And I mean, if you're watching these videos, if you're returning to my channel, then like clearly we're sort of on the same path. You're looking to find meaning, you're looking to find value, and you know, grow in this world and experience this weird, crazy ball of life that we all are participating in. So without further ado, here are some books that changed my brain chemistry. So the first one that I want to talk about is The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. The tagline is "Embrace discomfort to reclaim your wild, happy self." And I think this one was super important. I genuinely think that this book changed my life. Everyone should read it, and it's got useful advice for everyone. Like, the idea of getting outside of your comfort zone being the only space you're going to grow, I think is super important. And it doesn't just mean like he goes on this like crazy trip to Alaska for like 30 days. We don't all need to do that to get out of our comfort zones. I know a lot of us can just like go outside for a day and that's pretty far outside of our comfort zone, or try and learn a new language, or undertake an art project that's going to take forever. And I think that the more we sort of acknowledge the boundaries that we've set for ourselves, and we can brush up against those and develop a better sense of self, a better understanding of what we mentally and physically can deal with, I think that you're going to find an amazing space to grow in. And he talks about this throughout the book. A lot of the challenges are physical challenges, but I think, again, they don't need to be to get you outside of your comfort zone. Maybe even just picking a goal and working towards it and doing something like that can really get you out of your comfort zone. Making a promise to yourself to try a new dish once a month from a country and going with that. Like, these all can all be things that get you outside of your comfort zone and expand your worldview. Another thing that he talks about, I think, is a really key idea in this book, is the idea of comfort creep or a problem creep. So as our lives have become more and more comfortable, what we perceive as discomfort, that bar is lower and lower. And as we experience fewer and fewer problems in terms of like our immediate survival, then we're going to in turn create and experience problems at a societal level, which I think we can all agree is happening. So being able to build your self-confidence and your ability to deal with difficult tasks is super important. And I think everyone should read this book. Everyone. The second book that I want to talk about, and this was a recent read, I read this one in January. I think The Comfort Crisis I read in the early 2020. I think during the panini we all had our own experiences of what we were going to do with our time. But this is a recent read. I saw a review of it online and I got it with one of my Christmas presents. It's called The Happiness of Pursuit by Chris Guillebeau. I don't know if I said that wrong. But it's the idea of like the modern quest and what that looks like in our world today. So for example, like the author has decided that he's going to see every country in the world by the time he's 35. And it takes him like 12 years. It's sort of this ongoing process. But the idea of a quest, like, what does it mean to be a quest? What's different between like a quest versus I want to lose 50 pounds? Well, that's a goal. That's not a quest. And it was just the ideas of what that can look like. And the book has examples of people like traveling or people completing multiple marathons. But one of the stories is about a person who decided to cook a meal from one country around the world, every country, once a month, and have these dinner parties. And what I found really interesting is he goes through these idea of quests. Like every single person was on this sort of individual thing that they wanted to do. But as you go along, as you build momentum, as you cross these like milestones, more and more people become interested in what you're doing. And a lot of people like blogged their experiences or had YouTube channels or did different things, wrote books. But the idea of creating these things for yourself and understanding that like these goals will be, or quests will be flexible and fluid and all these different things, I think is super important. Being able to have something that's bigger than yourself to work towards is important, right? We're all here on this channel, like growing, learning, and all that kind of stuff. And I think as we're trying to disengage from like the traditional capitalist narrative, and we're trying to become more of a community, more of a society again, these kinds of things are going to be really important. And if we're able to learn about ourselves and emulate that to the people around us and be a good support network for the people around us as they are on their own journeys, I think it's just be more and more valuable. So I highly recommend that book. It was super impactful and really inspired me. So I decided that my quest is I'm going to visit all of the provinces in Canada by the time I'm 40. So that gives me like 6 years. I've seen a bunch of them already. So then you have to like break it down of like, okay, well, which ones am I going to first? Which one's gonna be more expensive? Which one's gonna be more time consuming to get to, and all that kind of stuff. So that is my personal quest, to see every province and territory in Canada by the time I'm 40. I will let you know how it goes and probably make a YouTube video about it. The next book I have is probably like in every white girl's library who loves outside and like doesn't like capitalism, and it's Walden by Henry David Thoreau, but I would definitely recommend that you get a version that also has civil disobedience, which is an essay, or it was an article he wrote for a newspaper. I know a lot of people read Thoreau in high school and they leave out a lot of his political intentions with his work. He was very much into peaceful democratic protests, and like he didn't like his president or the government, so he just stopped paying his taxes and was like, I'm not paying you my taxes. And he was very open about it. He wasn't like sneaky about it. Ended up getting arrested and thrown in jail for not paying his taxes, and was just like, there's more noble pursuit than being thrown in prison protesting something that's unjust. And it was just a very, very interesting thing. So Walden, I think a lot of people know, he spent like a year and a half living out in this like very rustic cabin all by himself. And he really gets into the idea of like what a person needs versus what a person wants, and like how when you simplify your wants, you realize that like all your needs are met. And I think it's just a very interesting concept. And then the civil disobedience essay is one of the most important things anyone could read. It's just the idea of like, what is your civic responsibility? And I think it's interesting because I see so many people talking about like, oh, we have rights, all of these rights you have. It's like, yeah, we have rights in the society, and they also come with responsibilities towards one another, towards our community. And I think that's the piece that's missing a lot of the time in discourse on different issues. It's like, yeah, we also have a responsibility to each other. So definitely check that one out. But yeah, make sure you get a version that has civil disobedience in it. Okay, so the next book I want to talk to you about is Does It Matter by Alan Watts. If you know me in real life, or if you read my blog posts, you know that I post a ton of Alan Watts quotes. I talk about him all the time. All the time. He was like a philosopher working with like Eastern philosophy like in the 60s and 70s, and really brought this over to like North America and the UK where he's from, and it's very impactful. Like I remember the first time seeing one of his videos, like he recorded a lot of his talks and people have made them into like set to music and made YouTube videos, and I remember the first time like hearing one of them and just being blown away, and like this is where it started for me. Like his works are really where this journey started for me. I know it's like stereotypical, like a white girl reading like a white philosopher talking about Eastern philosophy, but the way that he breaks it down is so digestible, and it's very interesting, his take on it, and he ties a lot of these different religions and philosophies and things like that together in like a very cohesive way that I think is super important. This book in particular talks specifically about our relationship with the material world and the idea of like money versus wealth, and how a lot of us go through our lives focusing on abstract things. Like you're sitting down at a restaurant looking at a menu and you eat the menu but you don't order anything, and that's sort of how a lot of us engage with the world. And I find it really interesting, and I would definitely recommend any of his books, any of his YouTubes. Like you can just search Alan Watts on YouTube, you're gonna find some cool stuff. There's stuff on Spotify if that's more your flow. Some of his books can be like very dense. Like there's one just called The Book. Don't start with that one. It's very intense, but his stuff is amazing, and it's life-changing. Life-changing. I love his work. And lastly, the book that I want to talk to you about is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmer. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this book. If you haven't, like, read it immediately. It's beautiful. It's, what is it? One of the authors that reviewed it called it a hymn of love to the world. And for me, her work is really important because, like, I'm not from here. My family's not from this area, but this is my home. And for me, a great part of, like, engaging with this being my home is engaging with the natural world. It is involved in getting my hands in the dirt, growing food, producing for myself, like what is sustainable in the space that I have, really engaging with nature, appreciating it. And I think that one of the really important points that she makes is that in a lot of societies, like, we're very disconnected from the natural world, and it makes it easy to see it as something that is, like, foreign or other to us, when in reality, like, we're all part of this same ecosystem. And her talking about, like, physically engaging with the land that you live on and, like, growing whatever you can grow, even if it's just flowers, like, just engaging with that, getting your hands in the dirt, creates a center for you. Like, you are part of that place now. And she also talks about, like, harvesting and foraging and sustainable harvesting. All of that stuff is really important. It's broken up into these little chapters about, like, different plants or experiences. The one she writes about maple syrup is super, super wonderful. But just this concept of, like, you go to the store and you buy a pack of paper and some pens and you go home and you make your shopping list, but you don't think about the trees and the paper and the people that made that thing for you. And the more you can be aware of all these systems interacting to create your life, the more you can see, like, your own place in that and the importance that can have. And I just think it's really beautiful and kind of like a wonderful love story to our world. Alright guys, so that was a 10-minute ramble about books that I took you on. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts about these books, or if you have any books that you found super meaningful in your own life. I would love to hear about them. You know me with my hoard. I will always add to it. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the books, and let me know any YouTube videos that you love that also changed your life. And I will link one of the Alan Watts videos below. I'm always appreciating you guys being here. If you like the video, like it, and check me out on Instagram and TikTok. Alright, I'll catch you guys next time.